The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism is the department of the Government of Spain responsible for the proposal and execution of the government policy on industry, trade and tourism, including among its competences the industrial development and of the SMEs, the promotion and defense of the industrial property, the commercial policy of internationalization and of investments and external transactions, as well as the politics of tourism and the rest of competences and attributions that the legal system attributes to it. Likewise, in coordination with the Foreign Ministry, is responsible for the international cooperation on this matters. The Industry Ministry, along with the Defense Ministry, has an important presence in the military industry. The MINCOTUR supervises the imports and exports of military materials through the Interministerial Regulatory Board on Foreign Trade of Defense Material and Dual Purpose of the Secretariat of State for Trade. Likewise, the Ministry of Industry regularly grants loans to state-owned enterprises for the promotion of this industry and the realization of military projects. The MINCOTUR is headed by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Tourism, who is appointed by the monarch at request of the Prime Minister, after hearing the Council of Ministers. The Minister, currently the economist Reyes Maroto, is assisted by four main officials: the Secretary of State for Tourism, the Secretary of State for Trade, the Secretary General for Industry and Small and Medium Enterprises, and the Under-Secretary of Industry, Trade and Tourism. Government action in the field of industry within the historical limits of Spanish constitutionalism can be traced to the early 19th century. In the 9th of November 1832, the Ministry of Development was created, and among other responsibilities, it had the domestic and foreign trade, industry, arts, crafts and manufactures. The linkage of the industry to the Development Ministry was maintained until 1922. Even during the period 1900 to 1905, the department was named Agriculture, Industry, Trade and Public Works. On the other hand, in 1910 the Directorate General for Trade, Industry and Labor was created. Between 1922 and 1928, the newly created the Ministry of Labor assumed the powers over industry and commerce, and in 1928 the new Ministry of National Economy assumed this responsibility until 1931. During the Second Spanish Republic, when the responsibilities were assumed by the Ministry of Agriculture, however, the real creation of the ministry as an independent one was in 1933. This year, during the premiership of Manuel Ezana, the Ministry of Agriculture, Industry and Trade split in two, and the responsibilities on industry and commerce were transferred to the new Ministry of Industry and Trade. This ministry was structured through three departments: the Directorate General for Industry, the Directorate General for Trade, and the Directorate General for Mines and Fuel. This structure was maintained until 1951, when, because of the growth of the commercial activity, in which, according to the dictator, made inexcusable a greater attention of the states, especially in its two most important aspects, of supplies and foreign currency, reached such extension that completely absorbed the activity of one ministry, given the dimensions and complexity of the problems in which the administration was obliged to intervene, and the industrial development of Spain and the forced promotion of mining and production of energy and basic materials, contained in itself more than enough field to absorb all the activities of a single ministerial department, forced the government to split the Ministry of Industry and Trade in two. Since the approval of the Constitution in 1978, the Industry Ministry was renamed Ministry of Industry and Energy, with responsibilities on the industrial and energy policies, and, since 1988, for the first time, it assumed competences over technological development and innovation because of the accession of Spain to the Treaty of Rome and the measures of application of the Single European Act, which required an effort to increase the competitiveness of Spanish industry. Also, the government considered necessary for emphasize those elements that will determine the competitive position of industrial companies in the immediate future, the development and application of new technologies in the industry, and care for design and product quality industrial In 2000 the ministry was suppressed and its components were divided between the Ministry of Economy and the Ministry of Science and Technology. This last ministry, considered the direct successor, in words of its minister Anna Biruls in her speech before Congress in the 21st of June 2000, the department is responsible for the challenge but also the opportunity to make the decisive process of promoting the culture of innovation in our country a reality in the time horizon of this legislature. This was reverted in 2.